Hi, my name is Annie. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this beautiful 3D yellow hibiscus granny square. This granny square is part of my state flower granny square project, and yellow hibiscus is the state flower of Hawaii. A couple of things before we get started. First of all, this is an easy intermediate level tutorial. So if you have some experience with crochet, you know some basic stitches and techniques, I'm sure you can follow along with this tutorial. However, I'm not going to be going into a lot of detail for some very, very basic crochet techniques. So if you're very new to crochet, I would recommend you start with one of my beginner-friendly tutorials before moving on to this one. A second thing to mention is that this is my original design. You are more than welcome to use the squares that you make with this tutorial in any of your crochet projects. The only thing I ask is that you give me credit for the design. I will include simple instructions in the description of this video on how to do that. To make this granny square, you are going to need yarn, of course. 4 different colors if you want to make your square in 4 different colors like I've done here. The yarn that I'm using today is a 100% cotton yarn. It's a number 3 lightweight yarn. So this is like a DK yarn. I really like this one for granny squares. Other things you need are, of course, a crochet hook, one that matches the yarn weight that you picked. A yarn needle, and then you're also going to need a pair of scissors. We are going to start our granny square from the middle. So we're first going to work this center part of the flower. For this center part, I picked this bright pink color. But you can, of course, use any color you like. And I'm going to start by making a slip knot. Like that, and I put it on my hook, and then I'm going to chain 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to join this into a ring by slip stitching into the first stitch here. If you prefer starting your granny squares with a magic ring, you can also do that. So here we go. And I'm going to chain 2 stitches. And now for the center part of the flower, I'm going to need 15 half double crochet stitches around the ring that I just made. And these 2 stitches that I just chained here, those are going to count as my first half double crochet stitch. So I'm just going to go ahead and work 14 more half double crochets around this ring. So yarn over, I insert my hook in the middle, which is a little tough with the first one because we'll see that kind of obvious opening there. That's not the center. It's just underneath it, in the middle of the ring. I bring that yarn through and I have 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over and pull through 3. That's a half double crochet. And now I can see the center of the circle a lot better. So yarn over, insert in the middle, bring the yarn through, yarn over and pull through 3. Yarn over, insert in the middle, pull the yarn through, yarn over, pull through 3. And this is how I'm going to work all around. So I'm going to work a total of 15 half double crochet stitches, including that initial chain 2 that I chained here. So go ahead and work around yours and meet me back here once you have 15. I have worked my 15 half double crochet stitches around this ring, and I'll double check and make sure that I have 15. So here's my initial chain 1, counts as my first half double crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. I have 15 stitches, and at this point I'll go ahead, and for me I like to slip stitch here in this first stitch kind of here on the outside to close this round. If you close your round differently, like if you slip stitch, for example, to the chain 2 here that we chained at first, feel free to do it your way. The only thing that you want to make sure is that you have 15 stitches on the outside here that you're going to be working the second round into. So I slip stitched there, I chained 1 stitch, and then I'll break my yarn. And fast enough. I'm just going to show you here real quick to make sure that we're on the same page on how many stitches we have on the outside. So if I count them here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So I count the stitch that I just slip stitched into as my 15th stitch. This is how I do it. It's just a personal preference. So again, if you close your round differently, totally fine. Just make sure that you have the 15 stitches on the outside for our next round. All right, next we're going to start working on the petals. And for this design, I decided to go for these kind of oversized petals that overlap. If you look at pictures of the yellow hibiscus, that's kind of how the real flower is as well. So go ahead and bring in your next color. I am using this nice bright yellow. And I'm gonna attach my yarn with a slip knot. If you have a different way of attaching your yarn, feel free to do it your way. And we'll attach the yarn into one of these stitches here on the outside. As you remember, we made sure that we have 15 stitches that we're going to be working into for this round. So insert into one of these. I'm inserting where I have this yarn end because I'm using my weaving as you go method. There's a separate tutorial for that I will link in the description of this video if you want to check it out. So I attach my yarn there. I like to pull this tight to make sure it stays there. And now I'm going to start by chaining 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the beginning of our first petal. And all 5 of these petals, we're going to work 5 petals around the flower. They are all worked exactly the same way. So I'm going to show you one and then you can go back, rewind, and watch it as many times as you need to. So essentially for each petal, we are creating 6 double treble crochet stitches. In the middle, these 6 stitches that you see, and then we have chains of 4 on either side. So this is my first chain 4 that I just chained here. And then I attached the yarn here and I chained the 4 stitches right from where I attached the yarn. Now I'm going to move on to the next stitch here on the outside, and I'm going to work 3 double treble crochet stitches into the next stitch. So not in the same one where this yarn is attached. I have this chain of 4, but I move on to the next stitch. So for double treble crochet, we're gonna need yarn over 3 times, like that. So I have 4 loops on my hook. Now I insert my hook in the next stitch here on the outside. I bring the yarn through, and I have 5 loops on my hook. I go yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. And that's my first double treble crochet stitch. And now I'm going to go ahead and work 2 more double treble crochets in this same stitch. So where I made this first one, I'm going to work 2 more in the same stitch. So yarn over 3 times, I insert in the same stitch, pull the yarn through, I got 5 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. 1 more in the same stitch, yarn over 3 times, insert in the same stitch, pull the yarn through, so I have 5 loops on my hook, and then I go yarn over and pull through 2 4 times in total. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. I have 3 double treble crochet stitches in that same stitch. And now I'm going to move on to the next stitch here on the outside, and I'm also going to create 3 double treble crochets in that next stitch. So same thing as before, yarn over 3 times, I insert in the next stitch here on the outside, pull that yarn through, I have 5 loops on my hook, and then 4 times yarn over and pull through 2. There's my first double treble crochet for that stitch, and I need 2 more. So yarn over 3 times, insert the hook and pull the yarn through, and yarn over and pull through 2, 4 times in total. One more double treble crochet in that same stitch. So yarn over 3 times, insert in the same stitch, pull that yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. All right, so remember how I said when we started this round is that we need 6 double treble crochets for each petal, which is what I have here right now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then I have my initial 4. And now I'm gonna close this petal by chaining 4, 2, 3, 4, and now I slip stitch into the next stitch. So not where I have these last 3 double treble crochets, but into the next stitch here. So slip stitch, and then I chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is where my second petal starts. So there's my first one, as we can see, and that's the beginning of my second one. So for each petal, we have these 6 double treble crochets split between 2 stitches here. So we make 3 in each one of these 2 stitches. And then on either side, we have this chain of 4. And when you close the petal, you chain 4 and you slip stitch, you start the next petal right from this spot. And that's how we work all around the center. So go ahead and work 4 more petals. If you need to see how we made the petal, feel free to go back and watch how we made this one, because the rest of the petals is going to be exactly the same way as this one. And once you're done, meet me back here. All right, I have just chained here those last 4 stitches to close my last petal. And now to close this petal and to close this round, I'm gonna go ahead and slip stitch in the very same stitch where we started the first petal. So where I have those first chain 4, I'm gonna go ahead, slip stitch in the same stitch to close this round and secure the last petal. And pull that tight. All right, there is our yellow hibiscus. And next, we're gonna be creating loops of stitches behind these petals. If you have made 3D flower granny squares with me before, you know this technique already. So basically, I'm creating loops behind these petals so that I have something back here to work the rest of the square. And actually, we can't see the loops here right now, because we're going to create the loops behind the petals, and then with the next round we're going to cover up those loops. So this next round is going to be invisible in our final granny square, but the purpose of it is to allow us to work the rest of the square. And I'm here where I just slip stitch to close that round. And now I'm gonna turn my work a little bit so that I'm here in this gap between these 2 petals where I slip stitched. And I'm gonna go ahead and chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this is my first loop. And now you're gonna have to pull the petals down a little bit to see what you're doing. But I'm gonna go here on this back side of my work, and I'm going to slip stitch this here between the next 2 petals. And the way I like to do this is, if I pull this apart a little bit, I'll see kind of where these 2 petals come together. There's a loop on either side. I like to pick up both of these loops to secure the chain. So here, as we can see, this loop belongs to this petal and this one belongs to the other one. So I pick up those 2 loops in the middle and I pull the yarn through there and I pull it through the loop on my hook. And now I'm here, I'm gonna chain 4 right from the spots. And I'm going to secure this loop between the next 2 petals. So again, picking up 1 loop from this side, another loop from the other side, like that. And I pull the yarn through. So here, as you can see, I have 1 and 2 loops now behind these 2 petals. And I'm gonna keep going. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And slip stitch. Picking up 2 loops. I feel like when I slip stitch between those, or I pick up those 2 loops, 1 from either side, it makes these loops more secure, and also the loop is not pulling one petal here more than the other. So that's the reason I do it this way. And then chain my last 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now here, this is where my first loop is. Here I do the exact same thing. It's a little bit harder to see, but I pick up one loop from this side and then another one here, kind of where that chain starts. And I pull the yarn through. Oops, my yarn split there a little bit. Let's do that again. So I pick up my 2 loops and pull the yarn through. And then I like to go to the beginning of this loop just to make that extra secure. There, and then I can chain 1 and break my yarn. Here we go. This is the front side now with the 5 petals, and then in the back we have these loops of chain stitches that we're going to be needing for our next round. All right, we're going to start working on our next round. And now we're going to bring in our background color. For this one, I decided to use 2 different background colors. So I have this green kind of for leaves, and then I have this brown border color. So whatever color you picked for your background, go ahead and grab that yarn now. And I'm going to attach my yarn again with a slip knot. And again, if you have a different way, feel free to use your way. Always, it's important that you do what feels right for you. And now I'm going to attach my yarn into one of these loops we just made. So we're going to be working here on the back of our work. And you might need to fold the petals down here so that you see what you're doing. And I'm going to attach my yarn in the beginning of one of these loops. So right here. Make sure that the new color is right at the beginning. You might need to pull it a little bit. And then I like to pull that tight. All right, and I'm going to chain 2 stitches. And now for each one of these loops, as I mentioned earlier, this round is going to cover up these loops we just made. And for each one of these loops, we're going to create 8 half double crochet stitches. And that's all we're going to do on this round. So I have chained here 2 stitches, and that's going to count as my first half double crochet for this loop. So I go yarn over, insert in this space here, okay, so not in an individual stitch, in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over and pull through 3. Yarn over, insert in the space, bring the yarn through, yarn over and pull through 3. So this is how I create 8 half double crochet stitches to cover up this loop. Okay, let's see how many I got here. So the initial chain 2 counts as my first half double crochet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I actually have one extra one. So I'm just gonna take that one off. And then you might need to pull these stitches a little bit just to make sure that they're evenly spaced out on that loop. So there's my first 8 half double crochets. And now I will just move on into the next loop. Okay, so 8 half double crochets and go straight into the next loop. Half double crochet. Just like this. And this is how we work all around. So we'll create 8 half double crochet stitches in each one of these loops. So feel free to go ahead, work around yours, and once you're done, meet me back here where we started this round. I have worked all those half double crochets in these loops, and now I'm ready to close this round. And I'm just gonna go ahead here, and here I like to close this round by going into the second from the bottom of this initial chain 2 that we chained here, and I slip stitch right there. And now with this next round we are going to start turning this into a square. So as we can see, currently it's still a circle, and now this next round is going to be what turns this into a square. And if you look at the square here, you can see that this one petal here is kind of centered in the middle of this side. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So to be able to center that one petal there, we need to start this next round at a certain point so that we get the corners in the right spots. And for that purpose, I need to slip stitch here to the 6th stitch, counting from here. So counting from where this next 2 petals come together. Okay, so I'm currently here. I want this spot here where these 2 petals come together. And I'm gonna count to the 6th stitch from here. And the way I count these stitches is this stitch here is the first one on this loop. So if you look here on the outside, it's this stitch, it's the one that's kind of over the stitch here. And then this stitch, the next one, this one counts as the first stitch for that side. So this is where we're gonna start counting the first stitch of this loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That is the stitch number 6. And I need a couple of slip stitches to get there because I'm currently still here where I closed this round. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go into the next one and slip stitch. And then go to the next one and slip stitch. Here we go. And now we'll double check that I'm in the right stitch. So again, this is the first stitch for this loop. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm currently in the stitch number 6. And then if we look on the other side of this one where we're slip stitched, I still have 1 and 2 stitches on this side as well. And then this stitch here counts as the first stitch for that side. So you do want to make sure that you still have 8 stitches in this loop. Sometimes when we close a round, we might accidentally get rid of a stitch, or anything like that can happen. So make sure that you still have 8 stitches. And when I'm here in the stitch number 6, counting from here, I'm going to chain 2. This is going to count as my first double crochet for a corner cluster. And I'll make 2 more double crochets in this very same stitch. Okay, so the same stitch where I slip stitched and chained 2 stitches, I make 2 more double crochets here. And this is going to be my first corner cluster to turn this into a square. I'll chain 2 for the corner. And then I'm going to skip the next stitch, and in the next one I'll work 3 double crochet stitches. So 3 double crochets here for this corner. And now that's my first corner. Next I'm going to work my next side. And I'm going to skip the next 3 stitches here. So 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to go into the 4th one, and I'm going to create a cluster of 3 half double crochet stitches in the 4th stitch. So 3 half double crochets. This is what allows us to create the square when we have the half double crochets on the sides and then the taller double crochets for the corners. Okay, here's my cluster of 3 half double crochets. And next I'm going to skip the next 3 stitches again, and I'm going to create a cluster of 3 double crochets in the 4th one. So 1, 2, 3, skip those and go into the 4th stitch. A cluster of 3 double crochets. So I work 3 double crochets into the same stitch. Okay, 3 double crochets, I chain 2, and I'll skip the next stitch, and then I work another cluster of 3 double crochets in the next one. Here we go. Let's see what I got so far. So I have 2 corners here and 1 side. And this is how we're going to work all around our work to create this square shape. So go ahead and work around yours. If you need to see how we made the side, because after this corner we'll start the side, go ahead, rewind and watch how we made this side, because all the rest of the sides are going to be exactly the same way. And the rest of the corners are going to be the same way as this corner we just made here. So feel free to rewind if you need to. But essentially in the corners we have 2 clusters of 3 double crochets separated by a chain 2. And in the side we have a cluster of half double crochet. And in the corners, we skip 1 between these 2 corner clusters where we chain 2. And on the side, we skip 3 stitches between the corner and between the cluster on the side. But feel free to go back, see how we made this side and this corner if you need to. Work all around and then meet me back here. All right, I have worked all around my work. And now I'm ready to join this round. And now if I count in my stitches correctly, I should have 1, 2, and 3 stitches here before I slip stitch here and join this round. I like to go here to that first stitch there, kind of on the outside. But feel free to close your round whatever way you prefer. And then I slip stitch my way to the next corner here. So I like to start my rounds in the corner. And now if I pull these petals back here, I'm pulling them there to be able to see what I'm doing. But if I pull them there now, as we can see, this petal here is going to be the one that's centered in the middle of that side. And I'm gonna start my next round. And now for this next 2 rounds, which are also the last 2 rounds of the square, I'm only going to be creating granny stitches all around the square. So clusters of 3 double crochet stitches that I work in these spaces between the previous rounds clusters. So all that counting that we had to do in the previous round, we don't have to do any of that anymore. So I'm just gonna chain 2 here to start my round. And then I create 2 more double crochet for this cluster. I count that chain 2 as a double crochet. Some people like to chain 3 for a double crochet. So as always, you do you. Okay, there's my first cluster. Then I'll chain 2 for the corner and another cluster of double crochet stitches in the same corner space. So there's my first corner, 2 clusters of double crochet separated by a chain 2 here. And then I'm going to work a cluster of double crochets in this space here, the next space between 2 clusters of the previous round. And the previous round we created half double crochets on the sides. We don't have to do that anymore because now this already has the square shape. So we're just gonna be making double crochet clusters all around, 3 double crochets and 3 double crochets in the next space between 2 clusters as well. And then I'll just move on to the next corner. 3 double crochets. Like that. I chain 2 for the corner. And then another cluster of double crochets. And this is how I work all around. So go ahead and work around your square. So clusters of 3 double crochets into each space between the previous round's clusters, and in the corners we do 2 clusters separated by a chain 2. All right, I'm ready to close this round. So I'm just gonna go ahead and slip stitch here on the first stitch there on the outside. And now I want to change the color for that last round. So I'm just going to go ahead, chain 1 there. And fasten off. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in my last color. And just like before, I attach my yarn with a slip knot. If you wanted to create that background all in one color, you could of course do that too. So I'm just gonna go ahead here and attach the yarn in one of the corners. So there, the start of the corner space. Again, pull that yarn tight. And I start my last round here. So I chain 2, 2 more double crochet stitches in this corner space here. Half a corner, I chain 2, and then 3 double crochet stitches in the same space. So this round is going to be exactly the same as the previous round, except that we're going to have one more cluster of double crochets here on the side, since with each round the square keeps growing. So just like before, I'll go into the space between clusters of the previous round, and I create a cluster of double crochets in there. And this is how I work all around. Just good old granny stitches all around the square. So feel free to go ahead and work around yours. So clusters of double crochet in each one of the spaces of the cluster between the clusters of the previous round, and then in the corners 2 clusters separated by a chain 2. So work all around and meet me back here. All right, I am ready to close this last round. So I've worked all my granny stitches all around, and I just go here that first stitch there kind of on the outside and slip stitch there, and I chain 1, and then I can fasten off. Here we go. Alrighty, so here is my yellow hibiscus granny square for Hawaii. These petals, you might need to pull them a little bit and of course block the square, but I kind of like them when they are overlapping each other like so, so that one side of the petal is kind of always on top of the other one. This is how I like it. If you like it more like a messier look, you can of course also leave them be the way they are. Either way, the square is beautiful. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. If you like this, please leave me a comment, like this video, and subscribe to my channel. It does help me a lot. Thank you so much again, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.